All right, everybody, welcome. Whoa, my home just got real quiet right as I started the pod. The air conditioning turned off. I don't have any fans on today. This is extraordinarily weird. Welcome to a live mock. I'm Dan Besbris. This is a bonus edition of Fantasy NBA Today, and also we're going to try to keep juicing up the old YouTube streams, which has been really exciting for us here at Sports Ethos. Just the amount of traffic we've had over the last couple of weeks, I think. Number of subscribers has been kicking up pretty reliably lately. So very cool. So welcome. Please hit that thumbs up button on the video. That actually goes a long way towards pushing us into the algorithm. Please do subscribe to the YouTube page, and I'll be reminding you guys of that at some point during the middle of the mock. I just dropped into a 12-teamer on Yahoo. I don't know how many of these people are actually going to be there, so let's cross our fingers. We had really good luck on Monday with 13 out of the 14 teams in a 14-teamer that showed up. I've said it before. I know that everybody's going to be like, Dan, why don't you just ask people to join the mock? I don't want my followers in my mock draft, which sounds insane and stupid. But hear me out. As again, I like to talk about this like sort of once per episode. I don't want to know what the people that follow me are doing. I want to know what everybody else is doing. And odds are someone in these mock drafts probably already follows me on Twitter. Maybe a couple of them do, or the pod or whatever. But I want the bulk of them to be other people, like the people I'd be playing if I joined a Yahoo Pro League, like the people I play, frankly, in home leagues who don't listen to my podcast or follow my stuff on Twitter. And some of you do, but it's a small percentage. I want the regular, normal percentage, whatever that is, as 11 other people fall out of the sky into a mock draft. So that's why I'm not doing mocks with my own followers. I think that it creates this weird feedback loop that doesn't really help anybody. Right now, right now there's 6 people on auto. Hopefully it's just that my thing loaded faster than theirs. Let's see. If it does turn out to be 6, then we won't go very long on this one. But let's hope. Someone just left. They probably saw how many people were auto drafting and pieced the heck out. I don't blame them, dude. I'm gonna be so mad if this many people stay auto after I just tried to explain why I try to parachute into a draft. All right, well, here we go. Let's see what happens. If this is how it stays, we're not going to get anything out of this mock draft. A couple people just did pop in, so it's down to 5 now. Let's give them a chance. Maybe this won't be a complete disaster. It's looking like it may be a disaster. Ugh. Oh, wait a minute. One more in there. Well, still, please like and subscribe, even if this turns out to be the worst mock draft you've ever seen. Hey, one other person just joined. All right, we're down to only 3. That guy, Ryan, who was in and then left early when it looked like everybody was auto-drafting, now he's the guy who looks like the real Jack you-know-what. Because if he was still in there, we'd only be at 2. Cartier down in that last spot. All right, so it's not a complete wreck. We'll get a little bit of information. 3 autos is not great. That's probably the way it's going to stay here. Unless that Ryan dude pops back in. Come on, Ryan. I don't know who you are, but hopefully you're listening and you can come make this not a messy mock draft. One thing we've seen here, just looking at some of the ADP data, Shea is now basically back into a dead heat with Steph for that 6th pick. That one hasn't fully settled. Later on today, we're going to be doing another episode of Fantasy NBA to the normal episode of Fantasy NBA Today. That's going to be getting into that next bucket of players that I believe starts kind of with Lauri Markkanen. So make sure to subscribe to the traditional podcast if you want to hang out with me on that one. But for now, we'll just do a little recon mock here. You guys know my move. I'm not taking the players that I'm actually targeting in these drafts. I'm mostly looking at the guys that I want to know where they're going to go if I don't take them. All right, I guess we got 9 out of 12. We'll just have to settle with it. So we'll probably only go about top 40, top 50 on this one. This will be a relatively short mock. I'm up 3rd. Jokic, Embiid go 1, 2. Luka's pretty much going 3 in every draft, so I'm just going to take Luka here because I'm not that concerned with where he goes off the board. I'm much more interested in where Tatum, Halliburton, Shea, Steph go, and then that next group, which is going to get screwed up by the 2 autos. So unfortunately, we won't learn a ton about the end of the first round. But because most of the people in this draft towards the front end, first 6 picks in this are actually real live humans right now, we actually will get some pretty good information on the end of the second round and the early third. And early first, although that's pretty well locked in stone. The things that I'm trying to learn, if you guys want to sort of play along with me on this game, the things I'm trying to learn are how does that 8 through 16 range go, which in this particular draft, we're not going to get good information on that because of where the auto picks are happening. Because there goes Tatum. Shea went before Halliburton in this one, so a little bit of a tweak there. And then Steph at 7. That's the way it always goes. Kevin Durant at 8. LaMelo Ball at 9. I think that was an auto. Yeah, that's the first of the autos. LaMelo. So now, so maybe that dude set his because LaMelo is not pre-ranked ahead of Dame. It's possible that this Kevin fellow is actually auto-picking off of a set list. So maybe this is not quite as disgusting. Or maybe he made that pick and then took off because we did lose someone in there. Dame, AD, these guys are getting autoed right now. Cartier goes Giannis at 12. A little surprising to see him drop that far, but again, some of that has to do with the auto pick and Giannis being pre-ranked at 14. Let's just get back through this run of autos here towards the end of the first, beginning of the second. Domantas Sabonis goes off at 13. Interesting. We're going to likely see JJJ and Booker come off the board here to the 2 auto players, and then we'll mostly have real live people, and we'll kind of see, because this is a big chunk of players, and I'm curious what order they go in. So I'm excited to see what happens after JJJ and Booker get auto-picked here. All right, we wait. There goes JJJ. There goes Booker. Okay, so only 1 auto here over the next 8 teams. And that's a good thing because that means we'll actually get to see what's going on. So Jimmy Butler goes 17. Ant-Man goes 18 on the auto. Donovan Mitchell is kind of the second of that next bucket. I mean, I didn't think Jimmy Butler was going anywhere near this bucket, but here he is. Very surprising. That I don't think is something you're going to count on in most of your leagues, but Donovan Mitchell going as the first player in that next group is interesting to me and something you're seeing more of as he now is kind of gaining ground on Mikal Bridges. Freddie VanVleet goes next. That's a little surprising. Usually we're seeing him go a little bit more towards the back end of this 5th or 6th grouping of players. I keep forgetting how we cataloged them. Friends, please do remember to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Thumbs up, subscribe, thumbs up, please. We want to keep growing this YouTube page. Cat goes 21. That's really interesting. Okay, so he's pushing up the board. I'm going Kawhi because I'm not that curious where he's going to go. So we'll go Kawhi here and screw up everybody in the draft and wonder what the hell Dan's doing. There goes Trey. He's going in this range. Much better head-to-head. Darius Garland at 14 is really... Okay, so this is... I'm glad we stuck around here for the end of the second, beginning of the third. LeBron goes 25. Well, this draft is taking crazy pills. This draft is straight coconuts. James Harden falls all the way to 26. I mean, I would probably take him there. Mikal Bridges is still on the board at 27. So is Desmond Bane. I'm going to go Paul George because I want to see how far those guys fall. I don't want Paul George here. I want nothing to do with Paul George here, but I'm doing it because I want to see, because we still have 3 more live humans before we get to the next auto, which would ultimately then take Mikal Bridges. But boy, this is a wacky one. I'm probably going to sign out after we get through this run. There goes Bridges finally. Not an auto pick. And frankly, he should very much go by 28. So now you're down where... And Desmond Bane at 29. These are incredible values for those guys here. All right, let's see where we go in this next grouping now. Because you got Larry Markkinen, Jimmy Butler, LeBron are already off the board in this group. I took Kawhi just to get him out of the way. Is this going to be Markkinen here at 30? Or do they go Brunson, Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam. Those guys are all very reasonable grabs in this range. Vooch still floating around out there. So it goes bam. Then Lowry gets auto-picked. And I think this might be the last pick that I actually pay attention to because this run of autos. Well, all right, let's just get these autos off the board. Vooch goes 32 to the last living being in this part of the draft. I'm not even paying attention to these picks. Let's just... Cartier, you get 2 guys at the end of it, but you're like... He's got the easiest job on earth because he knows 3 auto picks are going right in front and right behind him. He knows exactly who's coming off the board. All right, we're back into some real people now. So let's sit through these. I guess the good news is that because so many teams at the back end of this draft are auto drafting, it's going very fast at that part. It's annoying, but we can still learn from this front end here. So Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren are the 2 names at the top of the board right now. But again, we're in a run of 6 straight players that are real. And there goes Victor. Victor goes at 44 in this draft, and we just lost somebody else. So not a stretch of 6 in a row. Now it's a stretch of 5 in a row. They're peeling off one by one. OG Anunoby goes at 45. Who am I not interested in here? I'm not interested in Brandon Ingram. I want nothing to do with him. I'm drafting an anti-Dan team right now. So Jaylen Brown goes 47, which is fine. Non-exciting. Jaylen Brown is sort of old manny this year. Cade goes 48, Holmgren 49. Those are kind of exciting picks in this range. I don't know if either of them beat it. Holmgren might. Cade, yeah, he could beat that too. 48's pretty deep for him to fall. Julius Randle goes 50. That's surprising. Who am I also not interested in here? I guess Ayton, I'm not that in. No, I kind of want to know how far he would fall if nobody touched him. We'll go DeMar just because it's, again, very boring. So this draft is now becoming less and less interesting. When we had 6 teams in a row that were real here at the front end, that was actually kind of useful information. So there goes Ayton. There goes Jamal Murray. And now here's this part of the draft that we don't really need to pay attention to. If it continues to fly the way it has been, we'll let this thing run a little bit longer. I know it's super annoying for you guys to watch all of this auto stuff going on towards the end of the round. This is actually a good opportunity for me to peel over to the YouTube chat room and see what's going on. We got QQWW says, hi. Hello. Welcome to Injured City. Yeah, that's the old man squad. The very old man squad. I think real drafts will be more down to earth, to be honest. Yeah, and this is true, by the way. It's a good point, QQWW. People are not going to take the same chances they take in a mock draft. So when you see something really out of left field, you can usually kind of throw that away. It's not something you should plan around, but you should be ready for weird stuff because someone in your draft is going to do something weird. Mikhail was being taken too high. For per game, yeah. For totals, no. I mean, he was number 5 by totals last year. So that's that balancing act. See Nature TV. Will you have guests on your podcast soon, Dan, like the past years? Usually that happens. We usually do that towards the end of September, beginning October. So the answer is probably. Some of it comes down to scheduling. I like to do a roto mock with a bunch of dudes first, and then we break that down. Right now, I'm just doing recon. Why not Brandon Ingram? Because he hasn't played a full season of basketball, I don't think, in his NBA career. We got to go back like 5, 6, 7 years for him to stay healthy. And then if you assume Zion's back, his role gets smaller. He's looked bad for Team USA, which is also sort of a bad look. Anyway, by the way, we're back near me here. Paolo Banchero, Rudy Gobert going at 68 and 69. I mean, we're not taking much away at this point. I will go... Who am I not that interested in here? I'll go Jalen Green because I'm probably not going to end up with him at any point. Clint Capella, 71. I mean, this is an interesting spot in a draft. I'm about to turn my auto draft on. This is an interesting spot because I mentioned on the last mock on Monday that you're actually getting kind of a run of old man types between like 65 and 80 this year. Also, there's a couple little mini bunches of them instead of all of them being smushed together, which I think is going to be great for us. It's hard when all the old man types, the boring producers, are all between 25 and 50, because that means we can get like 2, maybe 3 of them. But if they're spaced out a little bit more, we might be able to just pile up the guys falling. Get the one you like in the 20s, get the one you like in the 30s, get the one you like. There aren't many in the 40s. Get the one you like in the 50s, the 70s, the 80s. We might be able to get 5, 6 of our targets this year in the early to mid rounds, which is relatively new and unusual. Tyler Hero, Jalen Duren going real early. This mock is getting kind of weird. We're at 75 at this point. I'll go D'Lo because he's another guy I'm not targeting. But again, this information is crap now. Hope we talk about punting soon. Yeah, so I can talk about it for just a second here on this one. I'm gonna turn my auto draft on because I no longer care about what's going on in this mock draft. And I'll make my face a little bit bigger so you guys can see my Twitter handle at Dan Besbris. Again, please do hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this pod. We're going to do more mocks. Hopefully, this one got screwed up by everybody at the end of the first round being autoed. So we learned about the beginning of the first, end of the second, beginning third, and 4 beginning 5. And then things got a little bit cockamamie from that point on. So punting, my general idea on punting is that I don't usually go into a draft in a 9-cat league, head-to-head or roto. I don't usually go into a draft with a set punt in mind. I do believe that in head-to-head 9-category leagues, it's wise to eventually punt a category. Or if you feel like doing it on draft night, you can do it on draft night. It rearranges the board in a little bit. My great fear with punting on draft night is that you end up doing a punt that's the same as someone else in your league. And then you've shrunk the player pool so much by punting as it is. And then if you put another person attacking that same player pool, then it gets real small. So that's why I'm a big fan of what I call the give up, which in Roto, the term the give up actually probably makes more sense because you're looking at ROI on, I'm like bottom 3 in points. For me, it's often points because I draft these boring old teams where the guys don't score all that much. I get to mid-December, late December. I realize my team's not very good at scoring. I'll give up. Like, let's say I have Jaylen Brown on a team. It looks like this might be a year where I end up with Jaylen Brown every once in a while because he is falling to a more reasonable spot in drafts, basically where he finishes most years. But he scores a lot, 26, 27 points a game last year. But I'm looking at my team and I'm looking like, I'm sort of low in the pack in scoring. That's Jalen's best category. What if I could go out there and I could take Jaylen Brown and I could flip him for Drew Holiday, say, because those two guys are relatively closely ranked last year. Jaylen Brown has a 7-point per game scoring advantage and about 1.5 rebound per game advantage. But Holiday's got him by 4 assists, a fraction of a steal. He's better at free throw shooting. He's better at 3-point shooting. Maybe that's not the best example, but you look at the guys nearby to the one you're moving and think, maybe I could even trade down. Like last year, and I wouldn't do this, you could get more than that. And he was injured a lot. But like, what if you wanted Mitchell Robinson? You could get Mitchell Robinson like that for Jaylen Brown. I'm not saying it makes sense, but if you're bottom of the pack in scoring, and the farthest you could fall in scoring is to go from like getting 3 roto points to 1, but if you pick up Mitchell Robinson, let's say you can gain 2 points in field goal percent and 1 in rebounding and 2 in blocks. You're giving up 2 points to get something like 5 back. And don't I get it. You're losing 3-pointers there as well, blah, blah, blah. There's other stuff at play. Free throws gets worse. The point is you're looking for ROI on those midseason trades. In head-to-head, it's not so much a give up as it is, what are my strengths and how do I lean into them? If you draft a team in your head-to-head league and at the end of 7 weeks of play or something like that, you have a reasonable idea. You should probably give it 8. You have a pretty good idea of what your team is good and bad at. If your team is just sort of not that great at assists, then I think you can move into a punt assist because it's not that hard to make midseason trades if you're willing to actually give up a tiny bit more than you get back if there's a particular player you're targeting. We're all so worried about winning every trade that we forget to win a trade doesn't mean to get the guy who's higher in the rankings back. It's to get the guy that fits what you're trying to do with your team back. I want to try to punt and specialize now because I ended up a third or second. So the other thing with punting, and we'll talk a couple minutes more here just because the draft is bunk and you've got me. Again, a reminder, please thumbs up and subscribe. I've got another show coming later today. We're going to talk about guys like Larry Markkinen, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler. We're getting into that next sort of grouping of players as we work our way through the draft board. I actually find that it's kind of the opposite, where if you're punting a couple of things, let's say you're punting 2 categories, because it's actually really hard in head-to-head now to just punt one without suffering a decent amount in at least one other thing. A lot of categories are sort of correlated. You know, if you're punting 3s, you might have some issues in other scoring categories or free throws or steals. Like, some, not necessarily true, but a lot of times things kind of go together, like big man stats, guard stats. I actually find it's really hard to get a first-round bye if I'm punting because I find that my team ends up being very, very good in 5, sometimes 6 things, awful in 1, maybe 2, and still like kind of in a third one. And then you're going to get with a couple of injuries at some point during the year where if you lose some of your advantageous positions, now you're losing bigger. That's the thing with the punt. You win smaller during the regular season and you can lose bigger. But during the playoffs, you have a much higher probability of winning 5-4 or 6-3, of advancing round to round. So punt has kind of that weird trade-off where it's harder to be the top 2 team and get that first round bye, which in my opinion is one of the most important things in head-to-head leagues because there's so much chance in a playoff week. If you would avoid 1 week, what if all your guys got hurt on the week that you got to bye? Saves your season, basically. So that's, again, why I'm not a huge proponent of leaning hard into the punt. I much prefer to try to win a crap ton of regular season games and then lean into those strengths as you start to get a little closer to the playoffs and really try to build that thing up. If someone in your league pulls off the perfect punt, they probably beat you in the playoffs in that scenario. But it's actually quite hard in a competitive league to pull off the perfect punt. Someone else is doing something that's going to mess you up a little bit. Yeah, the soft punt. Well said. Matthew, what's up, dude? Don't completely punt any category. You can squeeze out points on the bottom end of categories against managers who fully commit. Yeah, very true. If you soft punt, you can steal an extra probably 5 to 10 wins over the course of a season, and that's often the difference between either being in the playoffs and being out in your fantasy league or being like 4th place versus 2nd. That first round bye is such a huge, huge deal. So anyway, today we learned some stuff about the back end of the 2nd round, the beginning of the 3rd, back 4th, beginning 5. I'm sorry we didn't get more out of the mock draft, but hopefully we got a little bit out of the strategy discussion. Last time, 4th and final reminder, please I do need you guys to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube page. Check me out on Twitter at Dan Besbris and follow the podcast Fantasy NBA Today. I'll go ahead and just type that into the chat room so everybody can see it if you're new to this realm. There it is. Fantasy NBA Today, available everywhere that podcasts can be found. I'll be back in probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours to break down the next few guys on the ADP draft board. And I will likely see you there. Let's see. What do we got here from C Nature TV? Hard time planning a punt points build in head-to-head. Hard part is taking care of both of your percentage while punting points because most of the punt points players are bad at a certain percentage. Jokic obviously is your punt points champion of the universe. I actually find it not that hard to be good at percentages because you typically can avoid the volume clankers. So mine tends to go the other way. When I punt points, I'm usually pretty damn good at percentages, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, because you're hunting all these guys where their job is just to go out there and be efficient. Just be efficient. Be decent, at least, at both percentages. And then all you need is like one guy to lift you in each of them. And you can usually get that guy at the beginning of the 1st round. Because remember, even if you're punting points, you still have a 1st and 2nd round pick. It's not like you're going to go get somebody who sucks at scoring. Tyrese Halliburton only scores 20 points per game, which for a 1st rounder is pretty low, actually. But he's giving you awesome 3s, assists, steals, on great percentages. So there are ways to do this punt points thing. You don't want to think at the beginning like I'm targeting low-scoring guys. Just remember, like at the beginning of your draft, all of these guys are putting the basketball in the hoop. Those are the guys that are going to float your percentages. And then just later on, make sure you don't take like a punt guy. That's the key. All right, everybody, shutting it down for real this time. I don't know how I managed to turn this crap draft into 25 minutes, but we'll see y'all later.